Good day, everyone. This is Valerie Bishop, and what we're going to do is we're going to wash our hands. This is something you have to do. It's a must for every service or any service that you plan to do for that day. So we're going to begin. First, we're going to turn on the water. Yes, we're doing it in a shampoo bowl because most of the time if you're in a salon environment, you might not have a sink or you can't go to the restroom or the bathroom. So your sink is probably the easiest place where you can get some running water. So we're turning the water on real low so you have a good little pressure. And we're going to go in and pump a full pump of soap. Lather those hands up. And you want to wash, 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 wash. You want to wash on top of the hands, the palms. You want to go under those fingernails real good because that's where most of that dirt probably lies, or bacteria, between your fingers. You want to do this for a total of at least a minimum of 20 seconds. If you don't know what 20 seconds is, start singing that happy birthday song. Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, and you just keep on singing, all right? And depending on how dirty or soiled you think your hands are, then of course you would continue to wash them. However, mine are not soiled, so 20 seconds is plenty. Then you put your hands back under the water, rinse them thoroughly. Grab a clean paper towel to turn the sink off. You dispose of that. Then you get another clean paper towel so you can dry your hands. And you want to make sure you dry those hands thoroughly. You dispose of this. And now we're ready to begin our service. Alright, before I start my service, I have already washed my hands for 20 seconds. Wash, 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 get in there, get it good and clean for 20 good seconds, all between the fingers and all that stuff. I properly dried. Now I'm getting ready to clean my work area. To clean your work area before you begin, you have to put on gloves because you have to use your barbicide wipes, and you do not want to use those wipes on your raw hands. So, I go in and get your proper size gloves. I'm a medium, hopefully. Yes, medium. And then after you have gotten your gloves, you take one wipe, possibly two, depending on how big your surface is. And right now we're just cleaning the area. Make sure you clean all your area, lift up any products that you have sitting on your area, which is usually your barbicide wipes and your hand sanitizer. You throw this away. Then you come back again with a couple more wipes. And of course, always make sure your container stays closed. And now I'm going to disinfect, and you want to make sure this area stays wet for approximately 3 minutes. You just keep on wiping down your work area for at least 3 minutes. And while I continue to wipe this down, you guys, this is going to be my setup after the area has dried for all my remaining services that I have to do. And I have to do this every time before I start a new service. So I'll see you in a few. Hello everyone, so we are back and we have already set up our station. So now our station is set and we are ready for our customer. Now before I bring the customer in, and because of course we got to do a consult and all that with her, what we want to first do is make sure we have all our products and all the other items that we need to do this double process curl. Some people, they call it a jerry curl. Or wave nouveau, or reformation curl, or whatever you want to call it, but a technical term is a double process curl. So we want to make sure, of course, you have your gloves, your applicators for how you're going to apply your double process. Some people like the brush, some people use the comb. the back side of the comb, of course. You got your applicator sticks so you can remove your products from out of the main containers because you don't want to cross-contaminate. So you make sure you have items, either your spatula or your sticks to remove your product, clips to hold the hair back. And then we want to make sure, of course, I got my sanitizer, my water bottle, processing cap, the cotton. Let me see here. We have our base here. We have our rearranger. That's the first step of the double process. That's why it's called a double process. We got to relax that hair first, and then we go in and reform that curl. So I'm going to take that product and put it in a bowl. Then we have our booster, which is the step 2. That's part of the reformation process. Then we have our neutralizer, which of course locks that curl in. And then we have our maintenance products, like the activator and the mist spray. Also, I'm doing a little throwback old school on you guys. I have a neutralizing bib. So we're going to utilize that when we go in to put the neutralizer on, so we can reuse whatever we need to reuse to help lock those curls in. Of course, you also make sure you have your contaminated container, some extra towels, and I do believe extra containers to put your product in, because again, you do not use product directly out of the main product. You know, you put it in a separate container so you don't cross-contaminate. And I think we are ready with our setup to start this double process. So let's go and get Miss Annie. I think Miss Annie's ready, so let's go and get her. All right, you guys, we are back. We got Miss Annie seated, and I'm making sure she's comfortable. We've already talked and we discussed everything. I did a consult with her to understand exactly what look she's going for, and she wants to make sure she has a nice body wave. She said doesn't want it too tight or too curly, so she kind of wants the in-between. So I got to make sure I have picked the proper rods for her. I'm thinking we're gonna go with the pink and maybe the pink and white, but we're gonna see. But before I even touch Miss Annie, I gotta sanitize those hands. So I've sanitized my hands, letting my hands dry while I'm still talking to her. After my hands dry, what I've done, like I said, I've already did the consult. I would go in now with Miss Annie and I would part, because you always want control of the hair. So we're going to go in and part her, checking her scalp as we part to make sure she does not have any scabs or sores on her scalp. Also, like I said, all this is part of when you're talking to her in the consult, to make sure, ask her about her medications, if she has any health issues going on. You just want to make sure you want to cover all your areas. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a basic 4-part on Miss Annie. Because the thing is, you want to make sure the hair is you're in control of the hair, and the hair is not in control of you. How about that? So of course, you guys, because you're in my advanced class, you already know what a basic 4-part is. Don't make me have to take you back to beginner's class, because I will. I'll send you back to Miss Lockamy. All right. And the one thing that's different, and I wanted to show you guys this, is different with your basic perm. We would, with this double process, you start the process with the hair dry. It's just like doing a traditional relaxer. Okay? The only time I would go in and wet her hair before this chemical is if she had a lot of build up on her hair. For a double process, even though we are going to do a straightener on her, it's a thio straightener. Before I could go in and shampoo her, but it's very lightly, just to get some of the buildup off of the hair, because if we don't, it's a possibility that her hair may not break down like it needs to break down. So what I would do is I'll pull out my bowl. I would put my gloves on because I'm going to start in this quad here in the back. You always wear chemical gloves with any type of chemical. First, we'll go in and base her. So we're basing Miss Annie. Go all the way around her whole perimeter with base. Especially on top of those ears, because sometimes that can be more sensitive than anywhere else. All right. And the thio straightener is a little milder than most relaxers, so you don't have to go in and base throughout the scalp. I would discuss that as far as if you had to do extensive basing. I would discuss that when we get into the relaxers. I'm finished with my base, so you put that in your contaminated container. Now, remember I had everything set up on my station. You have your rearranger. You take your rearranger, you take your spatula, and you scoop out what you need. And if you need more, you can always go back and get more. Okay. Now, most students that know me know you can apply two different ways. You can apply with your applicator brush, or you can apply with the back of a rat tail comb. Most of the students that know me, I have perfected applying everything with the back of a rat tail comb. You can call me old school. I just like the fact that I have control. I can part. I can do whatever I need with my back of the comb. Back of the comb. So I would get some product like this, and I would go in and apply. And I'll turn. Miss Annie, could you please? Okay. Don't be. Okay. Go in, and you're gonna apply this. If this was a retouch, this is how we would apply it, right here. You would be off the scalp. So as closest to the scalp as you can, but off the scalp. So I just want to make sure you guys can see. Sorry about that, Miss Annie. Thin partings. And when I do top and bottom. So top, bottom. No product on the scalp. Top, bottom. The reason why I do this is to make sure I saturate effectively, because that's one of the key things about getting and doing a good service, especially is the straightener. So I'm going to go out and do this whole process throughout her whole head. Another thing that you guys need to also remember, you always want to start in the most resistant area, which is the crown, and that's what we did. Again, I'm using the back of the comb. I am not combing the hair. I am using the back of the comb to apply this chemical. I would do this throughout the whole, all 4 quads, and I would keep on going through and smoothing until everything is straight. I would do this whole quad, this quad, this quad, this quad. With the Thio, we can actually let it sit until it gets to the straightening that we want. Otherwise, we can always go by manufacturer's instructions. Most of them advise you around 15 minutes or so, but sometimes you do have clients that have hair that's a little bit more resistant, so that's when you would let it sit a little bit longer. Again, this application here is for a retouch double process. Now, for those that would be doing a virgin application, and that's what we're going to actually do, is a virgin application. I'm going to demonstrate that on the other quad. Alright, so I'm going to finish doing this retouch on this side, and then we're going to flip to the other side so you guys can see how we would do a virgin application. Alright? Alright, you guys, I have completed the retouch on this side, and this is what it should look like. Like I said, you're talking about, it ends up being about 1 inch because that's how much new growth she had, and you're covering just the new growth, okay? Now, I wanted you to see how you apply a virgin application. I've already started it in the back quad because this half is retouched. This is gonna be a complete virgin application on that double process. Alright? Again, with the virgin, you're going to do the same concept. In this front quad, off the base, you're doing the mid shaft. You're going to go in and outline. So definitely well off the scalp. Making sure it does not touch her skin. If it does, you make sure you take a towel and keep her skin clear of chemical, because you do not want your client burning. Oh my goodness, Miss Annie. Ooh, we got to tame your stuff, honey. Ooh. So always keep a towel close by. Now, what I wanted to show you was you always going to start at the crown. Again, the crown is your most resistant area. So that's why I'm starting in that crown area. You did mid shaft, outline. Now I'm doing my parting. Mid shaft. Top and bottom. But now you're saturating that hair shaft all the way through. So as we would normally say, the application for virgin is 2. You would go back to the 1 and then pull all the way to the 3. But with her, I'm doing 2, 3, 1 only because her ends are so resistant. So again, you're definitely off that scalp, and we're pulling it all the way through that hair shaft. We're going to do this for the remainder of her this quad, because again, I'm demonstrating both a virgin and a retouch application of a double process. So this on the other side, remember, you only do her new growth. This is how much new growth, guys, she had. And we're going to go back in and smooth that in a second. So I'm going through, and I always start at the top because as you work through, what happens, you're pushing the hair away from her face. Thin sections. And you want to make sure you saturate thoroughly. Alright? Alright, you guys, I have now completed my retouch on this side, which was quad section 1 and 4, and then I created, this was the Retouch 1 and 4, and this was the virgin application 2 and 4. So let me see, 2 and 3. I'm confused now. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This half of the head is virgin application. This was Retouch. I wanted to show you guys real quickly. Now, you know, when you go back and you've applied it one time, you would go back to each quad, and I've done this with each one, but I wanted to show you guys in the front so you can see really good. You would go back with the back of the comb and smooth, making sure it's good and straight. This is for your smoothing process as far as to making sure it's straight. Again, making sure there's adequate amount. You may need to go in and add more, but you have extra on your comb as you go in and smooth. So you shouldn't have to go in and add additional product. It should be plenty of product. You're smoothing. And again, I'm the type to smooth top and bottom. And to demonstrate with the brush, it would be the same way. I don't like to use the brush only because if you have a client and they have a very sensitive scalp, even though you've gone and based them, the bristles, if you get too close, can kind of prick the scalp. So that's why I kind of strayed away from using the brush. But the same application, you would go in and apply it off the scalp. And as far as the smoothing process, you part and you smooth with the back of the tip of the comb, of the brush, okay? Same process. So you would go through the whole quad and do this. You see, I'm lost when I'm using my brush. So that's why I like my comb. Miss Annie, you good? Okay, she says she's good, y'all. So again, any spots that I might have missed, you can go back in, you touch it up. You want to make sure everything is saturated thoroughly. Okay? So I'm smoothing with the back of the comb. Same thing. And that's why I said, as you go in and smooth, it lifts that hair off the scalp, off the face and away from the face, and that makes it more safe. And the same thing with your quad over here with your virgin side. Start at the top, your most resistant. You'll hold that, making sure you have enough product there. If it looks like it's not enough, you go back in and add, and then you can smooth it with your hands. I suggest smoothing it with your hands. I know some stylists, you will see them use the teeth of the comb, which we do not suggest doing because it puts more tension on the comb. The hair is in a very fragile state with this chemical up there, so you kind of want to use the back side of the comb. However, I do see some stylists using the teeth gently just to put more tension to straighten that hair out, especially when it's coarser hair. And you would do the same thing, away from the face, thin partings, making sure everything is saturated thoroughly. Smoothing that hair shaft all the way throughout. Alright, so I'm going to finish smoothing this for both of those sections. And after it gets to the adequate amount of straightening that I like, I'm going to take her to the shampoo bowl. And I'm not shampooing, I am just rinsing. You will rinse all the product out. No shampoo. Let me repeat that one more time. No shampoo. This is a double process curl. You do not shampoo. You just rinse the chemical out. And we'll be ready for the next process, which is going to be rodding the hair with the booster. Okay? Alright, you guys, we're back. I have brought Miss Annie back from the shampoo area. And again, we did not shampoo her. We just rinsed her thoroughly to make sure all the chemical was out of her hair. So before you leave that shampoo bowl, you make sure and you part that scalp and you make sure everything as far as chemicals are completely out of her hair. That's all we did. We did a good rinse and that was it. We also switched out her towels while we were back there because you do not want those same chemical towels on her neck. So we put a fresh towel, made sure we wiped down her cape and make sure no pre-existing chemicals were on her cape. We brought her back here to the styling station, where now we're getting ready to start the second process of her double process. So as you can see, you guys, let me kind of swerve her around a little bit. Miss Annie is completely straight, and that's what we want. Let me just give you a little tidbit information on Miss Annie. This particular mannequin that I have that's representing a person, I actually ordered it off of Amazon, and it was a 100% human hair mannequin, and it was an Afro mannequin, and I wanted to demonstrate this on a mannequin that was as most realistic as possible to represent most African American hair when getting a double process. So if you remember before, she was nice and full and Afro-ish. Now she is straight like a relaxer. Again, thioglycolate is a relaxer. It softens the hair. So now what I have done, I have gone in, like I said, we shampoo, I'm sorry, didn't shampoo, we rinsed her really, really good, no shampoo. And as I sanitize my hands again for the 100th time, after we brought her back to the station, what we did was I checked her ends to see how everything looked, and I gave her a light trim only because we're getting ready to roll her now. We're at that second stage of the double process, and we're getting ready to roll her. Now for this process, we have to use something called a booster. And the booster, it goes in and resoftens the hair so it can reform on the rod to the size of the curl. I didn't show you guys earlier, but I did talk about the different rods that we had. So I had said pink and white maybe, but I think I'm going to go with pink and gray. And so just want to let you guys know, have my rods here in a nice clean bag, as well as all the other products that we have used have left my station. I have moved those products, and they're all in my contaminated container, like the bowl, the other comb, any of the clips that I may have used, the base, all of that now is in the contaminated container that I'm gonna either clean or throw away. All right, so I've sanitized my hands. Now we're gonna go in and put the gloves on. You ready, Miss Annie? I know it takes a long time. I know you're the one that still wants this curl. I know, I know. So, putting on my gloves. And for this process, again, I just wanted to let you guys know, we're using the booster, but I've put some in a container. Hope you can see that. And so I won't be using the actual bottle itself. I use what I've put in the container. And as well as having another rat tail comb so I can part. Also my water bottle and my end paper. You gotta have your end paper, all right? So let's begin this process. All right, I wanted to start in the back. I did a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parting on her. So I have 3 in the back and 3 on the front. I like to do that mohawk parting because to me it helps me to kind of determine where the mid point of the head is, and then I can roll easily to my left or to my right after I do my middle section. So what you want to do is you want to go back in with your water bottle, mist that hair, because you don't want it to get dry. That's the thing about a double process. You don't want the hair to get dry. So I kind of mist all of it a little bit, but mostly the section that I'm working on. All right, after I mist the hair, then you come in with your conditioning booster. This is step 2 of the process. You can apply it with a comb or brush. Again, you guys already know I like applying stuff with my comb. And you're gonna saturate that whole section that you're actually gonna roll. So again, I'm not combing it through, I'm using the back of the comb. All right, and you're gonna make sure you saturate that really good. If there's any excess, of course, always make sure you have an extra towel. Check with your client to make sure she's good. She says she's good. Okay, she's good. So keep your towel close by. And what I'm going to do at this point, I am going to just use my comb lightly to go in to part that hair. Remember, with your rods, you guys, you measure the rods to the length of the width of your sectioning of what you're going to roll. So again, we're using the pink and gray. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate with my pink and gray. So I'm going to start with a gray rod. You go in. Miss Annie, can I get you to turn around, please? Don't be stubborn now. You want to measure the width of your rod to make sure it's not, that hair sectioning is not too wide, okay? And then you're going to do a thin parting. Not paper thin, but not wider than the rod either. And what I'm going to do is over direct. She says she wants tight curls. There's two methods of putting the end papers on. You can do the book, which that's what I use because I roll the fastest that way. With the book, the hair cannot be gathered together. As you can see, I pulled it through, I over direct, I can see where those ends are, and when I lay it, the hair is not gathered and clumped all together. It is spread out in that end paper. This is crucial. So please make sure it's all wide and spread out. And again, I told you I did do a light trim on her prior to. And then when you roll, and I'm so used to keeping my tool in my hand because this is what helps you with your speed. You want to make sure you roll that hair evenly on both sides. And then bring, and then, this is what happens when you're videotaping. And then you bring that clasp over like that. I just want to remind you guys, it is not, let me repeat, it is not so tight that it's folded under. It is actually sitting on top of the rod. I can slide it up so you can see it. It's right there. However, I wanted a little bit more, so I just slid it down here. That is still fine. What you cannot do is do it like this. Wrap it around and have it so tight. The band, you can't even see the band. I hope y'all can see this. The band is hid underneath and it is on the scalp. That is too much tension. You do not want that much tension, okay? So let's loosen that back up. And again, I have my band sitting really on top, not on top here, but like on the side a little bit, just because it gave me the most tension without putting too much pressure. Again, I just continue to work my way down, comb that hair up, over direct. Now, you guys, I said I'm alternating out. Ow. I should have unsnapped all my rollers, but I didn't. Look at what I'm doing. See what I'm saying? I ain't used to doing all this talking. I mean, I love to talk, don't get me wrong. But I'm forgetting about what I'm doing. But I would have remembered. Again, book way, pull it all the way up. It extends past the ends of the hair. That's what you must do. Over direct. And then keep that tension even all the way down on that hair. Okay? All right. We're going to go and do this throughout her whole head until we have this whole head rolled. I was getting ready to ask y'all if y'all had any questions. Ha 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 ha. I guess you can't answer the question if I can't answer your question. Also, let me show you real quickly. Put that paper back. You can also do it another way. which most students do until you perfect it and get it right, to make sure you put one end paper on the bottom, then you put another one on top. And if it acts like it doesn't want to kind of stick, spray a little water, pull that hair straight up. Now you have it evenly on both sides. Now you can go in. Again, I should have unhooked all my rows before I did this. Neither here nor there. Again, making sure your tension is right on both sides. Roll that hair all the way down. So there's two ways of rodding. Using the end papers. You can use the bookmark and fold it, but you have to be good when you do that, because you don't want to make sure the hair is not gathered all together. Most students, we suggest that you guys start off with the 2-ply, where you put one end paper on the bottom and one on the top, as so. To make sure you don't overlap the hair. And you will continue this throughout the whole process until that head is rolled. All right, so we will be back so you guys can see the finished product. Tension, tension on both sides, tension, tension on both sides, tension, tension. See how it rolls evenly? That's what you want. I'm a lefty, so you guys would probably, most of you guys would probably hook it on the other side. So if everything looks kind of backwards, it's because I'm a lefty, all right? We'll continue this process until it is complete. And also, I just want to let you know, too, when you're rodding, you may get to some sections, because this is a mannequin head. This is not a human head. A human head is a little bit different. It's more pliable. So if you can perfect doing it on a mannequin, you have surpassed the battle of rodding a head. Sometimes this section is too small. Sometimes it's too large. I'll probably run into that problem possibly up in the front. That's when you kind of alter your partings a little bit. These 6 sections here are just to give you control of the hair, so you can see what you're doing, so you can have your clean partings, you can get the proper tension on all the rods, so the curl can turn out really nice. All right? All right, everyone, I wanted to make sure you guys had the opportunity to see what I was doing when I'm getting closer to the end. So we're talking about, it's taking me approximately 30 minutes, give or take, depending on how fast and how well you have perfected rolling hair. But I just wanted to show you guys real quick. Of course, my sections are parted oh so diligently, because you want to make sure you can see through your partings, you can control the hair. That's one major thing. Another thing is you want to make sure you continue to spray or mist the hair down with water, because you don't want that hair to get dry, remember that. But what I wanted you guys to see was how I did this section back here. Excuse me, Miss Annie, I need to turn you around. And what I did was this third section, because you had 1, 2, 3 sections in the back. This third section, instead of going straight horizontal, I did a slight angle so my rods could fit. So you're talking about going in sideways that way, and hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Again, you still are going to over direct that hair. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it can be a little tedious fighting with your end papers. That's why I suggest having the dispenser. The dispenser will help you to control your end papers. You're pulling that hair out, over directing. It sees the ends. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw this. And yes, I'm still struggling with my rods because I didn't unpin all my rods at one time. It's okay. Again, when I fold that hair, The paper has extended over those ends, and then you're almost rolling it in a robotic way. Okay? We want that to be on base. Why on base? Because she wants tight curls. So she wants the maximum curl pattern that she can get with these gray rods, okay? Don't get new on me. Up. Don't get new. Again, I don't have it pent all the way down to where it's on the scalp. It's just rolling back because why? We're dealing with mannequin hair, and it does what it wants to do. But you still want to make sure you're in control regardless, mannequin or not. We're still alternating out. I just wanted to show you that. Make sure your tension is the same. Sometimes, see, you have issues like that. See, I keep it real with y'all. I ain't trying to make it look like it's the perfect rolling process, because it is not. It is not. Me and this mannequin have been fighting. Yes. You go through right many end papers as well as starting over and making sure your tension is right. That's something I am anal about. It's not too many things I am anal about. But when I'm rodding a perm, I like for my tension and everything to be right. And sometimes, like you said, if you got to go in and roll it almost robotically, that's what you do. You can tell these are new rods because they don't even want to clip. It's okay. And again, notice what I'm showing you guys. I'm doing it at an angle. Comb that hair through, make sure it's straight. I prefer the book placement because that's what I perfected when I was in beauty school. And in my 30-year career, anytime I do run across having to do a double process, more so here at school, I still roll it the same way. And if you notice, I kind of spread the hair out if need be, so the hair is evenly distributed. And as I go down further and further, comb it out. End paper, my sectionings are getting smaller, but you can still use that same rod. However, in your kit, you also get smaller rods that you can use. And if you get those smaller rods, then that's when you would start alternating out. Same rod color, but it's a shorter rod, so it can actually fit in the placement better. Okay, you guys feeling me? I'm down to the last two, and I do have two short ones. Yay! Pull that hair out. You can see past the ends. See, it would be so much easier if I had unfastened this, and I didn't. Shame on me. Keeping that tension even. All the way down to the base. And you pin. Sometimes you even run into a situation where you may pin your finger or your glove, more so, in the clip. That happens. Gotta be careful. Okay. And that completes that funky section that some people call it here on the side. as well as I wanted to show you on this section, because I saw my roller, it was going to exceed the size of my roller right here. So I just did one separate roller right here. You can do that. You can do whatever you want to. The thing is, you're basing everything off the shape of that person's head. So you got to do what you got to do. Again, I'm always going back through periodically, just misting the hair. You do not have to saturate the hair down like soup, you guys, with the booster. You want it saturated well, but it does not need to be so saturated that you can squeeze it out of the hair. I mean, it's just coming out like cream. You don't want that. But you do want it saturated enough that you can feel it on the hair, and you can see a little bit of it when you start rolling. See, this is what happens when you do not put the tension properly. And what happens, of course, I got a slack on this side and it's not going to roll properly. So that's why you have to start all over. Put that in your trash. I'm telling you, the key to a perm is making sure it's rotted properly. The first thing is, of course, making sure it is straight. If you don't get it nice and straight with the rearranger, the curl is not going to look good on the back end, unfortunately. It's going to look fuzzy. So that was the first important step, to make sure you got that rearranger applied properly, making sure that hair got straight. Next step is making sure you're putting enough tension on that hair, so when you finish rotting it and it processes for whatever amount of time it needs to process, you will see an effective curl pattern there that satisfies what the client wants. Some people like loose curls, more of a wave or body wave. Some people like tight curls, almost afro-ish. I honestly and truly went with the pink and gray rods because I didn't know how well the curl pattern would actually take, since I am using real product. This is not, and I will repeat it, this is not mock product. This is the real McCoy. I'm actually using the Influence curl system. So shout outs to David Yancey and Influence. Which one? So I'm using Influence. However, you don't have to use Influence. You can use any curl system that you prefer that works best for you. Alright, we're down to the last two on the side, and see, with me delegating this roller here, it made the rolling process so much easier. So you don't have the excessive hangage. Now, after I finish rolling these last couple of rods, what I'm going to do now is, she is ready to process. And usually for the processing time, you go by the manufacturer's instructions. Sometimes though, with the double process, you may have to go a little longer if that hair, that curl pattern is not setting like you want it to. Usually what controls how well that curl takes is really determined on how straight you got that hair. I'm just letting you guys know, if you didn't get that hair good and straight, you're going to be in trouble, because then it's not gonna take like you want it to take. After it's good and straight, of course, the next thing was what? The tension. When you roll this hair, it has to have adequate tension. That's going to be the next key. Those are the two most important things when doing a double process if you want to see effective curls. All right, so now we got the sides done. All right, Miss Annie, just want to sit you up a little, okay? All right, we got the sides done. I left this section out in the front only to demonstrate to you guys. Usually the last 2 to 3 rollers, you usually roll those forward. Because you want it to flow. Let's take that out of her face. I'm still over directing. These last 2, I'm going to actually use, I'm not going to alternate it out, I'm going to just use my gray. Remember how I talked about the robotic? If that's the only way you feel like you can get it to lay on that rod right, then that's what you do. Pin. And then last but not least, thank you, Jesus. Oh. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to lie. I told y'all I don't lie now. Sometimes with mannequin hair, because again, it's not as pliable as human hair, to keep that rod sitting like you want to, they would use stick pins. I don't have a stick pin, but what I will do is, and you can do this, but you do not do this with a metal clip, you do it with a plastic clip. Why? Because you do not mix metal with any type of chemicals, okay? So I did that just so that would be out of my way. It was bothering me because it wasn't sitting on base. How about that? Last roller. I check my clock while I'm looking. So at this point, I'll know how long I'm going to let this process. Because she is not a human, she does not have the natural body heat that's needed to process effectively. So with that being said, normally it does not call for heat under the dryer, but because this is a mannequin, I am gonna place her under the dryer just so it can get some type of body heat, or she doesn't have a body, but some form of heat so it can process effectively. But normally follow manufacturer's instructions. With this, you do not normally would put her under a dryer. It usually will process by itself from the natural body heat. So again, my last and final mist of water, just making sure everything, because when you're doing a real one, it does kind of dry out somewhat. And instead of adding extra product, I just use water because water regenerates everything. So it regenerates the product that's already on the hair, and it will effectively saturate through and help reset that curl. Now, while she's sitting here processing, what I normally do, if, like I said, the client was a live client and the natural body heat would kick in, put the cap on, processing cap, make sure it covers all your rods, and I would let her process for about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I would check to see how my curl pattern is doing. If it's not set like I want it to be set, I will let her sit for an additional 10 to 15 minutes. Usually you max out around 25-30 minutes if the curls have not taken by then. But again, always follow manufacturer's instructions. So we're going to check everything out. We're going to come back after processing time, and we're going to take it to the shampoo bowl, and from there we'll be doing the last and final step, which is neutralizing. At this point, while I have the bag on her, I'm making sure my station is clear of everything that I have already used. So that means rollers, with any rollers that I didn't use or I dropped or whatever the case may be, they will be placed in the contaminated container bin. Also, any end papers that I didn't use, that will be thrown away in the trash. Clips, combs, everything that is reusable would go in the contaminated container. I would clean down, I would wipe down my station just to make sure I don't have any chemicals on it. Again, this is all while she's sitting in your chair and processing. She may be reading a book. She may go to sleep on you. Who knows? But make sure your station is clean at this point. So when you get ready to go into your last and final step, the only thing you should have left on your station is your neutralizing and your final products, as far as your activator and your mist, which is your finishing products. All right, let's see what we got in a few minutes. All right, you guys, we have Miss Annie at the sink. Okay, you're comfortable. This is about the best I can do for you. Y'all don't even want to know how I got her rigged up, but hey, she's laying in the chair. How about that? So now that we have her at the sink, we did a test curl, and I'm going to do another test curl for you guys so you can see what's going on. And usually you want to do a test curl back on one of the ones that you first rolled. All right, we see a little bit of wave in here, y'all. We might have a little something going on. I don't know. I've let her process a full 30 minutes, and that's only because it's a mannequin, and I wanted to make sure we would have some type of curl pattern. I'm checking one of my newer ones, meaning one of the last ones that I rolled. Okay, y'all. I'm getting excited. Y'all don't want me excited. All right. So we've tested the curls. It looks like we might be working with something. So now, by manufacturer's instructions, I have on my gloves, of course. You're going to use warm water. And I'm going to speak up a little louder so you guys can hear me over the water. You don't want it strong, but you want it enough. And when I say warm, I'm talking about borderline cool, not hot. Definitely not hot. So you shouldn't see smoke coming out. Cool water, kind of warm water, lukewarm water, kind of helps to start setting those curls. But what really sets it, of course, is the neutralizer. So I'm trying to get my water straight here. And this is not even wide open, so I don't want you to think, oh gosh, she has that water wide open. That's wide open. I'm maybe halfway. And what you want to do is you want to keep that nozzle close, not dragging, but close to those rods. And you're going to rinse out that booster, because that's the last chemical we put in, the curl booster. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of cupping the water so it doesn't splatter everywhere, because it has that tendency. If it is splattering too much, you can turn your pressure down a little bit. I'm letting that water go sideways through those rods, because remember, you guys, you want to rinse until you do not see any more chemical or any bubbling in the water that you're rinsing. So I'd rinse sideways, forward, backwards, vertical, horizontal. I got you, Miss Annie. I got you. Oh, she's complaining, you guys. I got a little water in her face. She don't like that. Always stop and take care of your client. I got you, Miss Annie. No, you're not getting a discount just because I got water in your face. We go through this every time. Oh my goodness. Your clients. Again, you're gonna let it rinse. And usually I like to start in the back where I first started riding it and work my way towards the front. I just moved to the front so you guys could see what I was actually doing. So I'm going to continue to rinse probably for the next 5 to 8 minutes. Just to make sure I have all the chemical out. Alright, you guys, we have completely rinsed out all the process that was in her hair, all the chemicals that was in it. Everything has been rinsed really good. If I got too much water on her towel, if I got too much water on her, I made sure I cleaned up my mess before we moved any further. Now we're at the step where we use our cotton, and I have taken the cotton and gone all the way around her perimeter. Like I said, you're in an advanced class now. You should know about this because you learned this in beginners. Put the cotton all the way around the perimeter, because while we're protecting her face, you got to always protect your client. I still keep my gloves on because actually I changed out gloves, but you always want to continue to wear gloves because you're still dealing with chemical. Now we are dealing with the neutralizing solution. I put and pour the neutralizing solution from out of the bigger container into a smaller container so I can have more control. And before I apply this, because we rinsed this, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes, making sure all the suds, there were no more suds in the water. And we finally achieved that. I pat lightly with a towel just to take the excess water out of her hair. I put the cotton around. Now I'm going to break out something on you guys. Y'all going to be like, what in the world is this? Oh, throwback. If you were doing curls back in the late 80s and during the 90s, you know what this is, a neutralizing bib. And yes, they still make them. And my personal opinion, I know you didn't ask for it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. They are wonderful. These are disposable, so, or you could re-sanitize them and reuse them. But what you do is you kind of hook it all the way around. And of course, because we're dealing with something that's not pliable here, work with me. It goes around the ears and around the face. And you pin it up. So it's actually pinned right on the cotton, around the ears, around the face. And it looks like this. And the bag is open like this, so the neutralizing solution can fall in that way. Miss Annie, now, what are you doing? She's trying to move on me, you guys. I ain't got time for Miss Annie to be moving. Ooh. Oh, adjust her accordingly. All right, Miss Annie. So she is straight. This is just to help to protect my client a little bit more as well, because with the neutralizing solution, it can spill over. The cotton is there for that. However, this also protects her, but as well as it helps to, if you have to end up using a lot of neutralizing solution, you can actually get the excess and it goes into the bag, and you can pour it back in the bottle and resaturate. Why? Because we're on the same client, so we can reuse product on the same client. So I usually would start in the back, but because I want you to see what I'm doing, I'm going to neutralize here in the front so you can see this. All right, so you start. It's a pen size. This is like the perfect bottle to neutralize with. You take a pen, like a stick pen, and you stick it into the hole here so you can have control. If you have made the hole bigger by cutting the tip off, then you lose a lot of product. So with just a little stick pin hole, it gives you more precision. See? I'm going to pull it all the way back so you guys can see what I'm doing. Top, underneath. top, underneath. And you're going to go through and saturate each curl like this. Top, underneath. Until each curl is saturated. All right? And the process is 10 complete minutes. Meaning you make sure it's saturated really good. And sometimes I'll go back and do it again, especially depending on how thick that hair is. But from the time I start neutralizing till it arrives at 10 minutes, you leave this neutralizer on the hair. You do not take the rods out. At this time, you continue to saturate, like I said. For 10 whole minutes. After she finished processing, we're going to come back and we're going to see the final look of our client. All right? And well, actually, one more step after that. I want you to see what it looks like from the shampoo bowl. And then, of course, after we take it from the shampoo bowl, back to the station. All righty. All right, you guys. It has been 10 minutes. We have allowed the neutralizer to set those curls. And remember, you always have to keep, again, I got on another fresh pair of gloves because, you know, when you're going through the process with chemicals, you go through gloves. And you want to make sure you're protecting yourself. The thing is, like I told you, the neutralizer has chemical in it. It has hydrogen peroxide. So you definitely want to make sure you're protecting yourself as well as the client. So now, it has processed, yay, for 10 minutes. At this point, I can take the neutralizing bib off because we are finished processing. And what we're going to do now, and I'm going to take this neutralizing bib. If there's any excess neutralizer in there, I'm going to pour it out. And again, these bibs are reusable, or we can dispose of them. It's just like a cape. It's made out of that plastic. So I'm going to take and put it in my contaminated container that's right here. See, I didn't fake y'all out. I got my contaminated container. Don't play. And what we're going to do, we can also, I would take the cotton off at this point. And sometimes it can be a little hard to tear. But that's what we're going to do. Remove the cotton. We're going to dispose of that into the trash can. Now, we're going to rinse until we think most of, and when I say think, because you're not going to get it all out, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second, a little bit of lukewater. So, I make sure my pressure is low. Excuse me, you guys. Got a tickle in the throat, honey. Tickle in the throat. And I'm trying to make sure this water pressure is a little bit, it's low, but then the water is kind of on cool. Not cold, but little luke cool. Again, you're not dragging the nozzle across the rods at all. Low pressure. You're rinsing out the neutralizer. The neutralizer has set those curls that I pray that we have. How about that? And you would continue to rinse, 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 rinse until you do not see any more bubbles, suds, or anything like that in your water. Now, the wonderful thing with this is, when I said earlier, you're rinsing with the rods in. Well, you never get all the chemical out, so what you're doing, you're rinsing the majority of the neutralizer out with the rods in. But then we're going to stop in just a second here. And we're going to start taking the rods out. And when we take the rods out completely, we will go back and lightly rinse the hair again to make sure there's no residue of the neutralizer left in the hair. I'm excited, you guys. Are you guys? I'm excited because I want to see. This is the first time I've ever did actual chemical on a mannequin for a double process. So this was me trying to be creative. Hopefully I didn't tear anything up. So we're rinsing. Like I said, do not drag that nozzle. Just like when you apply the neutralizer, you did not drag that nozzle. You lifted up each rod. You do the same here. I'm kind of pretty much opening up the rods, letting the water flow through. Making sure you're going from the frontal all the way back to the nape area thoroughly. After you have done that, take a clean towel and you will lightly pat any excess water. And at this point, we're now going to start, we're going to open up our contaminated container. And I usually like to start at the nape. And the reason being is because you don't want to start in the front and the curls are falling on the rollers that you haven't taken out yet. And what I like to do is when I'm taking my rods out, I like to take the paper off and throw it in the trash can and let the rods drop in the sink. And we're going to go through and do this whole process for the whole head. Until all the rods are out. And we will see what we have ended up with. Can't wait. All right, you guys. Well, we have finished neutralizing, which was the final step. We let the neutralizer sit for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we left the rods in the hair. We rinsed with timid water for a few minutes to make sure we got the majority of that neutralizer out of that hair. Remember, the neutralizer locks those curls in. After we locked those curls in, we then took the time to take the rods out, separating the paper and the rods, throwing the paper in the trash, putting the rods in your contaminated container. Then I lightly rinsed her without the rods to make sure we got all the rest of the residue of neutralizer out of her hair. Miss Annie, are you ready to show the people what your curl is looking like? Ta-da! Yes, y'all. Miss Annie is happy as a hog and slop. Yes, I had to say it like that. What I would do at this point, because she has a fresh curl, the only thing that's left on my station, if you guys can see, is just the towel that I just took off her head, a clip, and the finishing products, and my water bottle. So I'm lightly misting her with water. Remember what I said about water. Water is like your additive. It keeps everything going. All right. Now we're going to use Influence's finishing products, which of course is the moisturizing activator, as well as the curl mist, moisturizing curl mist. So we're going to take a dime size amount, and this is what happens when you don't take the paper out. Okay. Dime size amount, maybe let's go with a quarter. Might as well. All right. Rub it in the palms of your hands. Rub it and manipulate it throughout her curls. Sometimes you may have to go in and use a little bit more depending on the thickness of the hair. So I went and got a little bit more. And I'm just, like I said, manipulating it through the curls. After we manipulate the activator, then we can come back with the finishing mist, moisturizing mist. This double process, yes, it calls for a lot of moisture, but you got to remember it's going to look wet now, but then it's going to set and dry. So again, you wait at least 48 hours before you would actually go in and comb it. So I'm going to actually just kind of finger comb her curls so you don't see any parts. And if I do say so myself, her curl came out lovely. What was that, Miss Annie? She said, I did that thing. Bam. So this is the finished product, you guys, on a double process curl. All right. Just go over real quickly everything that we did. First, it's called a double process because of what? Because we had to do 2 steps. First, we had to straighten that hair, and then after we straighten it, we had to go back in and use the booster to rearrange the curl. So remember, it's not a regular relaxer. It is relaxer because it's thio based. However, thio relaxers, it softened the hair enough to straighten it, and then from there, the reformation came in when we put the booster in, which has chemicals in that as well. And we rotted that hair with the booster, and then we let it set for processing time, rinsed the booster out with the rod still in. Then we came back and we neutralized that hair, locking those curls in, rinsing, making sure no neutralizer was left in the hair after we took the rods out. And la 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 la. This is our finished product. All right, you guys. Well, that concludes the service on Miss Annie. You better tip me. She's talking junk. Y'all, you can't hear her, but yeah, she's talking junk. But yes, she's happy, and that's all that matters. The client is happy.